Tonight's edition of UPfront, we're actually going back to the run-up to the 2024 elections. Corruption and governance became a big issue. In fact, it was center stage. With the stakes higher than ever in our national affairs, the NDC under John Dramani Mahama, who is now president of the country, proposed some bold reforms. These were aimed at resetting Ghana's governance framework, from constitutional reforms through ethical leadership to forensic audits and legal reforms. The NDC said it was poised to tackle corruption and strengthen transparency and accountability in the Republic of Ghana. Tonight, we have the privilege of hosting Mr. Daniel Zhao Domelevo. He is Ghana's former Auditor General, one that you will not forget, especially when it comes to what they call surcharge and disallowance, a phenomenon that appears to have vanished or only stayed within his tenure when he was Auditor General. He is also a key member, or perhaps the most controversial happening in the Republic of Ghana today, John Dramani Mahama's Operation Recover All Loot. This is the preparatory team, not even the substantive team. Preparatory team, known for his relentless fight against corruption. Mr. Domelevo is expected to bring a wealth of experience to our discussion this evening. Together, we will unpack the government's plan, the proposal they put in their manifesto, and the realities on the ground, and check whether these governance reforms shall remain mere rhetoric or it is feasible and realistic for implementation. How will these policies curb corruption, face governance challenges, and ultimately reset the moral compass of our democracy? And what lessons can Ghana learn from past efforts to root out corruption? Stay with us as we delve into these crucial issues of Ghana's foremost voices with a man who has been known for a very long time to demand accountability and integrity. Good evening, sir. I hope you are doing well.
I am very fine.
This is our very first meeting in the year 2025.
Very true.
Apparently, you've been busy. You have taken upon yourself to enter into corners, invade people's privacies, take over people's lands in the name of doing preparatory work for Operation Recover All Loot. How did a man who is a stickler for rules become such a person?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners. I must say that there is a saying that you give dog a bad name in order to hang it. And I think that is the situation that the Operation Recover All Loot finds itself, or the team finds itself. People who follow the communication which came from the office of the then president-elect, now our president, makes it very clear that this is a preparatory team, which is basically to just collect information. So we don't enter any rooms and streets, etc., collecting information. We are receiving information. If you volunteer information, we take it. Some walk in person, some send it by email, some by telephone, and that is all I think what the committee is doing.
Really?
Yeah.
But some are of the opinion that you are already taking upon yourself mandates that you do not have. In fact, the very first conversation that's been happening now is you have no mandate in law at all. You have no basis. You just merely exist as an unlawful body.
I've had those conversations, and let me first put in a disclaimer here that I'm not speaking for the team.
True.
I'm speaking for myself.
True.
And from the best of my knowledge, what we are doing currently is within our mandate. And it is not within the mandate of only the team, but any Ghanaian, I think, has the right of deciding that I want to compile data on road traffic offenses or on robbery going on in the country, etc. I don't think that contradicts any law in the country. I stand to be corrected. But I'm waiting for someone to show me which law says that before you can collect data on abuse of state resources, public funds, and looting of the government properties, you need this law or that law. I've not come across one yet.
But is that all you're doing? Because some 8 hours ago, Samuel Okujeto-Ablakwa, who is part of this team, put out, Team Oral has inspected the North Labone State Capture location where a property belonging to the Lomote Adote family was illegally demolished in 2024. A representative of the family, traumatized experience, was narrated to us how they lost their home and invaluable therein, and their frustration. Even though the Lands Commissioner has claimed in a letter that they had made a mistake in allocating the land to the politically exposed cabal, which carried out the demolition. You are on the ground inspecting places.
Exactly. What is happening, what happened, which people are looking at or reporting, is basically a validation mission. Okay. Because we cannot just sit in our office and Lomote family will say that they've destroyed our building. We put that into our report. And then the presidency respond to us and say, look, when we send someone there was no distraction. Nobody has taken the building.
The claim don't exist.
Guys, so we just want to validate and see if, especially those things that are physical, like building on government land, demolition of government buildings or things belonging to the state. So this is basically a validation mission. We have not investigated anybody or attempting to even prosecute anybody. We don't have those money.
Is there a thin line between this validation and investigation you're talking about?
Yes, there's a lot of investigation. If difference. Validation is basically going to see what is on the ground to confirm. Mm-hmm. If we were investigating, we were going to call all the parties, raise questions to get answers, etc. So you see, if you follow the media reportage, you see that there was a member of the family who was there when we were at the
I've seen the picture.
who was making all those claims. It was not the team. We were not there when the demolition, etc. were to be done.
One of the issues that's brought this to the fore is the immediate past NIB bosses matter.
Yeah.
It was in the View when he was explaining the things you are doing, the visitations, and the places you have seen, that a member of your committee had indicated that he had willingly returned what he considered to be a land unlawfully acquired. Immediately, he issued a rejoinder. Yeah. His rejoinder was that he had not acquired any land unlawfully and had not done any such contacting with the team. Yes. This is what has become the, I don't know, the projector of the View, that you are basically engaged in witch hunting as we speak.
No, I don't think so, because I think what I heard, if I heard it correct, was that a member of the committee said he has volunteered to return the land. He has volunteered to return the land. I don't find the SS over there. And of course, he said, I have not. And I saw, again, other media coverage showing documents to show that he bought the land at a lower price, etc. So as for us, all that we are doing, I think, is just to collect data.
By so doing, are you accusing people of wrongdoing?
We are not accusing anybody. How can we accuse you even if you have not investigated you? Before we can establish any form of guilt or suspected guilt, we have to investigate. Being a former auditor, I think at least you credit me with investigation skills.
Yeah, generally.
To know that when you start investigation, especially an audit, your preliminary findings may be very different from your ultimate position, because that preliminary findings may be rebutted with other evidence. So we cannot accuse anybody. But then, where there's the problem, I think, lies is people are not able to differentiate between the validation mission of the team and the job that the national security, represented by Kofi Boakye, is doing. So when national security moves in, they say, we have no control over police.
Okay, I get your point.
Yes.
There's a difference between...
Yes, because whenever we find something and we think is untoward, we inform national security.
Okay.
And they take action. And they say, the team is... No, we don't do anything like that. We don't go that far.
Oh, no, I did not know that there was a national security team on the ground.
There is a national security coordinating team. Interestingly, Kofi Boakye is part of that team. And he's also part of the oral.
Ah, okay.
So he coordinates with his people and they take action.
I see.
And then we take all the blames.
And he's been appointed Director of Operations at the Office of the President as we speak.
As we speak, yes.
So it's actually
now he's wearing three hats.
Triple role that he's playing.
He's playing three.
Is that problematic?
I don't find
for you, as in other members, performing your role under oral?
I don't find it problematic. I think he is capable of doing them, and he's very discreet in the way I think he does his thing, so I don't see any problem there.
It is the view of Professor Koku Asare,
Yeah.
that the president does not need a law to set up a committee to receive complaints of corruption, waste, or stolen public properties because the Constitution and existing legal frameworks grant the president broad executive power to create advisory or investigative committees. He grounds it in some role, talks about the executive authority under the president, talks about administrative and advisory committees, existing legal and institutional frameworks, and no need for enforcement powers that you are supposed to be having. Because immediately, some people have even projected in the direction that the group ought to be formalized with a law giving enforcement powers. What do you think about that call?
Well, they are right, because some people think that corruption has reached a point where we may not need to do exactly what we have been doing in the past. We should go the extra mile. Because remember, it was, I think, the biggest issue NDC put forward during the election. So if you would like to do business as usual, people think it may not be right. Personally, I'm one person, I'm not speaking for oral team.
Yeah.
I'm one person who is against setting up new institutions.
I was about to accuse you of that.
I hope you are aware of that.
Because there's history to suggest that whenever we are trying to use an alternative means, you are drawing attention to existing structures that can be used for her.
Yes.
Yet you agreed to serve on this oral team.
No, oral team is not an institution. It's a team. And it's
I'm
fine.
confused about this.
Yes. Okay. People are talking about existing structures.
Yeah.
What structure are they talking about?
BNI,
They are talking
UOCO,
thank you.
OSP, all of the plethora of anti-corruption institutions existed, including the police.
Yes. And so this team is just collecting data. And when we collect our data, we give it to the executive, that's the president. The president may decide, based upon our recommendation, that these are supposed to be audited. These are supposed to be investigated by the police. Or this is good for UOCO because it has something to do with organized crime or maybe money laundering. Okay. These ones are corruption and corruption-related cases. It should go to maybe OSP. That is all.
But what in your function sets you apart or could not be done by any existing body today?
You see, let me tell you a very interesting thing. When I was called to join the committee, that was my first thing. I said, why can't they just go to the various institutions? Then I corrected myself. That if these institutions were fit for purpose, if they were doing what is expected, we won't be where we are anyway.
But why don't you rather
Wait
fix
a minute.
them?
I'm coming. Yes. So to fix them, you need the data. Remember the time the committee was set up, the president was not even in power.
Yes, he was president-elect.
President-elect. So you needed the data to say, look, I have this information. Yoko, what do you need to do so to become effective? And you, mind you, most of these abuses may not be just today. It may be yesterday, a year ago, 3 years ago, etc. You, Auditor General, what are you doing? You so and so. So maybe it can help that way. That is one of the reasons I even asked. I remember one of the first questions I asked. Are we going to be paid?
Oh, you asked that question?
Yes. Are we going to be paid? And they say, why did I ask? And I say, in that case, I don't want to be part of it.
Oh, okay.
Because I've said that we create these institutions to be additional burden on the consolidated fund.
That is the argument.
If you have heard me say that. So if it's a voluntary work, I'm ready to do it as a voluntary work. So as it is now, just as I come on your program at my own cost and go back at my own cost, it's the same thing I'm doing over there. I drive my own vehicle, fuel it, and go there and come back to my house.
No pecuniary benefit.
Nothing.
Maybe indirectly.
Like what?
Like
giving us a house?
No, nothing material. Okay, no, I'm not talking about anything.
Okay.
Like you have received. I don't know whether you have received the house recently. Yes, from any of these activities. Why do you think a lot of people are up in arms against your oral team?
That is the normal thing. Remember, the best form of defense is an attack. Anybody who thinks that this may lead to him or her being exposed will definitely attack. Let me take you down memory lane anyway. The hypocrisy in Ghana is a bit disturbing or nauseating, at least to say the least. If you remember, check, if you Google, you see either 25th or 27th of September 2017, the senior minister, the then senior minister, put up a notice that they have even engaged some foreign firms or foreigners to assist the government to not only collect data, but to even investigate and help in prosecution. Then it was okay. There was no problem. Those institutions were there anyway, but there was not a problem. This institution or this team, which is just collecting data, is a problem. So that is the hypocrisy we have in our country. And I had a call from someone that if the committee calls them, they should not come. And
Yes.
said, we have not even been inviting anybody.
Is some new members of parliament.
Yes.
The fresh crop.
Yes.
I suspect he's a lawyer.
Yeah.
One of them, I think he's in the press conference or response to a question.
Yes, yes.
That I'm not sure whether you people have actually engaged them or you have sought information from them or he's been a victim of one of those, your verification or processes.
Validation
But he says
missions,
if
yes.
any former government official is called,
Yes.
but are you inviting people?
No. To the best of my knowledge, you have not invited
Oh, that's the
anybody.
gentleman on the TV. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, he's a Swami member of parliament. I think he replaces Osei-Chairman Sabonsu. Yeah.
Okay. So we not invited anybody, and we
John
don't.
Darko, yeah.
And we have no intention of inviting anybody. It is, mind you, the publication went from the office of the then president-elect
Yes.
to the public that if you have information, bring it to this team via this instrument or this means. They even put together a hotline, and there is also a website, and there is an email. That is all we are using.
No, this is interesting because the man's main claim, the member of parliament's main claim, is that you have no legitimacy to invite.
Yes.
But you are saying that it's not even part of your mandate to be inviting people in the first place.
Exactly. We have not even invited. And so the issue does not even arise. But then if I remember the mantra from the government just about a year ago, less than a year ago, go to court, go to court. They should go to court.
How is that related to your work?
No, I'm trying to say that we are working and we are being told that we are operating illegally.
Yes.
The courts are not closed. They are still there. So they should go to court so that the court tells us that, no, guys, you cannot even collect information when people bring it to you. You will shut down and go.
So that's what it takes for you to actually shut down.
Yes. We need a law. Otherwise, you are going to tell me that a day will come where you say, for wearing my smoke, which law allows me to wear smoke? Until something is prohibited by law, it's lawful from my point of view. Until there's a prohibition, either by a legislation or by a case in court with a judicial precedence. But if it is not, then one day you will say that, Daniel, you are being unlawful by wearing smoke onto my studio.
That would be preposterous, really. But I mean,
and this is equally preposterous.
The claim they're making.
Yes, very preposterous. But I don't see the point. You journalists,
yes.
What do? You go collecting data on abuses and ill practices or things all over, and you even publish it, don't you? Who has stopped you?
But
if we talk about collecting data on corruption, does anyone come closer to?
We are the fourth estate. You are not part of the.
We are fifth, maybe sixth estate.
Certainly, there isn't.
Remember, Kweku Asare drew your attention to the fact that the president is using the executive and administrative authority.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, but has the presidency gotten back to you on your role? Has there been, because there's been a lot of clamor around for you to be shut down permanently. Has the presidency shown any sign or hinted that you are likely to be shut down anytime soon?
No, I'm not aware of that. And I think we are on course. We have not deviated. And I will wish that if we want to go more into oral, then you better reach out to Okujeto, who is the chair of the press.
No, I get your point.
Because I don't speak for oral.
No, I get your point.
And
far as I get
you and I, we are agreed on some synopsis before coming.
I agree, but these are urgent matters of state.
But if I was told we are coming to spend half an hour on oral, I would have told you that I won't come.
We've not done a half an hour yet, but that's the most important part.
Yes.
The last question on oral is, have you collected enough information? When do you suspect that you will finish the preparatory work?
That is a big question. In fact, I was thinking that by now we should have finished. But every day the information keeps coming. In fact, I think yesterday I was asking my people, when will this thing finish? Even on my phone, apart from the direct lines that have been given or the hotlines that have been provided, people who know that you are, they keep sending information every now and then. So when it is going to finish, I don't know. Maybe Kweku Asare's Azaz's position may become the norm. He thinks oral should come and stay. It should be made permanent, not necessarily legislated. But there must be something like, he called it CCT camera on corruption, a group of people who we can report this thing to. The added advantage, which I forgot to mention, is that since it comes through us, go to maybe the presidency and go to the various institutions, they know that other people are aware of this offense.
Oh, I see.
How we get a point? It's different from you just walking to OSP or to Yoko and then
or reporting to the police and you not hear anything.
And you hear nothing. Yeah. But at least they know that even the office of the president is aware of this type of thing, which brings about better transparency in our fight against corruption.
That's an interesting perspective. Now, so you don't know when you will finish this work?
Not at all, no. I doubt even if the president himself knows. Because if you see the quantum of data or information coming, you are like, should we cut it off at a point or we should just go on? But I think
But the president himself has a mandate of 4 years.
Yes. That is what Kweku said, that we should institutionalize it, saying that it should go even beyond the president's term of office. But I think with time, we may have to look at how do we interface it into the existing institutions so that it becomes... Because already some of the institutions, I think, have that mandate already. In fact, almost all of them should have that mandate to collect information. It is the non-doing of this which has occasioned this. So if they can become very effective, I'm sure the committee will happily wind up, because this is a voluntary service. Let me remind you.
It's on that point that I want to draw attention to. The NDC had quest to improve anti-corruption institutions as part of its manifesto coming into office.
Yes.
In fact, it was one of the things that they prioritized,
yes,
that they need to be sharpened and they need to be improved to carry out these mandates.
Yes.
Is that a realistic expectation? Sometimes we have seen how the work of not only the Auditor General, the work of UOCO, the work of even the OSP has been problematic. On one issue, for example, who has the competence and the legal backing to do lifestyle audit? Well, nobody is sure which institution is mandated with full powers to do lifestyle audit in this country.
Yeah, I agree with you. So that is where I think the call or the agenda to strengthen these institutions is very necessary. From my point of view, 3 things need to be done.
Okay.
One, we may have to look at the legal framework again, and be sure that there are no loopholes anywhere. And where there are also duplications, where we think this is Yoko, this is so and so. In fact, my prayer actually is to combine some of these anti-corruption agencies, because, mind you, too many institutions take money away from us.
Sure.
We use the money. Can you imagine if we have to decentralize or get regional and district offices for OSP, how much money will be involved? Yeah, we are talking about 16 regions and 200 and something districts. But Yoko already has those
district offices.
Is that not it?
At least so if, offices in various districts.
Yeah, in various districts.
Yeah.
So if we merge the mandate under one administration, it will mean that maybe we need to only add 1 or 2 staff here and there, and it will minimize the cost or the weight on the consolidated fund. So the legislation may have to be looked at. In fact, what constitutes corruption by itself is also a challenge. Some say, if you look at 29, it is narrowly defined to be restricted to bribe and alms given, etc. And we think corruption must be properly defined, what constitutes corruption, and then that is addressed. Again, I have a concern with how to prove someone guilty of corruption.
I see.
Yes, if you go to some jurisdictions, just what Ethiopia has just done, they have done the reversed burden of proof. So once we can establish that this phone, Daniel, is yours, we can prove beyond reasonable doubt that this phone is for Daniel. Daniel, this phone is costing 10,000 Ghana cedis, and you earn only 200 Ghana cedis in a month. Then it is for you not to prove to us how you were able to procure that within 2 months or 3 months of your employment.
But is that not alien to common law?
Alien to common law, Ghana is not the only practitioner of common law. Even where it comes from, it is there. So many common law countries, including our sister country, Nigeria, they are all doing this. So you see, when we talk about common law, I'm not a lawyer, but this is my opinion. Law must revolve, depend upon the exigencies of the time.
Yeah.
We cannot be practicing the law as it is today in the medieval days.
I get you.
Today that technology and knowledge has improved so much, the law must also equally evolve.
But we are mindful of the tendency or the ability or the opportunity for people to abuse it.
Yes.
So that if I'm sitting in my corner,
yes,
then somebody comes that they suspect my tie is 9. So automatically, I should prove where I got the tie from.
Fantastic.
I don't know if you get my point.
That is
so
why I say there must be a legislation.
Part of the world.
If there is a legislation, it will have to give us what must occasion that. Mm-hmm. You just don't wake up and look at the guy and say, no, it seems Raymond is becoming richer than me.
True.
So it must be investigated. No. What should occasion or trigger such a lifestyle audit, I think, is very necessary. So the law must be looked at. The institutions must be looked at. We must see how are we resourcing them? How are they structured? So that they can be more effective, and I've always advocated for merging some of these institutions. Then, the voice from the top.
Before you move on,
yes,
we have UOCO, we have NIBs, we used to be BNI or so.
Yes.
In fact, we even have SFO before, you remember?
Yes, which is now the UOCO.
UOCO, yes. Then we used to have, not even before the SFO, the special branch.
Of the police.
Yes, there was a very specialized grouping, all doing various forms
they
of
still
investigation.
do. There's some unit there, FIC or whatever
oh, really?
it is.
No,
there's
the Financial Intelligence Center.
No, FFC or so, Financial something.
Oh, that's unit existing.
Yes, of the, yes. So
which specific bodies do you want merged?
Exactly. I cannot sit here and say merge this and this. But what I'm just trying to say is that we must look at the organizational structure. One argument I keep persistently making is that organizational structure is a service delivery structure.
Okay.
If you want to deliver service, you must look at the type of service you want to deliver and structure your organization accordingly. As it is now, I think it is not fit for purpose. And being a former Auditor General, let me tell you that in some cases, instead of we fighting graft, we fight among ourselves. Oh, there were instances where before you commission an audit, immediately you notify them that you are going to do an audit. One of the anti-graft organizations will quickly go and take the books. So you go and they say, Yoko has come to take the books.
Are you serious?
I'm telling you.
In this country.
At a point in time, I was even going to go to court against Yoko to say, why is it that any time we are doing an audit, you seize the books? But you've forgotten that I have a constitutional mandate to finish my audit within 6 months after the end of the financial year. You are not a constitutional body. You are, though you are a legal body. Yeah. I don't see how your mandate overrides mine.
So sorry, they also do investigations, so they pick the books, go and investigate.
Yes, and it will never come.
that's a very interesting perspective.
Yes. So if you are going to audit maybe a very sensitive government institution, the team goes there and they say their books are not around. Why? They say Yoko is investigation, so they have taken the books. Actually, they don't even investigate that. They've taken the books away.
Books away.
The auditors will audit them.
Yeah, and leave them.
Yes, but they will take the books away, so you have nothing to audit. So it reached a point where I have to confront the leadership of Yoko and say, no, this cannot continue. And if you don't release the books, we are going to go public for everybody to know what is happening.
But that's preposterous, isn't it?
So preposterous. So that's why I'm saying that instead of we fighting craft, they set us up said that in some cases you see one is obstructing the other, or there is a turf war and etc. So I think these institutions should all become department of an anti-corruption agency in the country.
I see.
So there's one for organized crime, maybe Yoko and money laundering, and one for special prosecutor type of, which is corruption and corruption related, but under the same leadership. So there will be cohesion instead of... and of course, it will save us money.
Is this a proposal that you think should happen right now?
I think so.
We have opportunities now. There is an ongoing clamor for constitutional review. There is also a lot of clamor for fighting corruption. Is this a perfect opportunity or time to do this?
I think this is the best opportunity to first look at the organizations that have been put together to fight corruption. What are some of the reasons why they are not able to fight corruption?
True.
I think because there are tough wars. At times they spend a lot of effort fighting each other. So we should try and eliminate that so that we can fight graft the way we should.
There's a question I had about, from your experience, what are the biggest causes of persistent corruption and governance challenges in this country? But from where you are coming from, an institutional approach is what you have taken.
Yes.
can you identify the other bigger or huge loopholes that ought to be plugged or to be reviewed in a way if we mean business in our quest to fight corruption?
Leadership is very key in all these things when it comes to public sector and, of course, any institution.
True.
Okay? The tone from the top is very, very necessary.
And by top, are you talking about institutional or?
I'm talking about the presidency
Okay.
and the heads of all the top institutions. Someone jokingly said that he is very sure that if it was announced on the 8th of December that the president-elect was Domilevu, he's sure that many of the institutions will have reformed before 7th of January. So, because people know that you will not tolerate. That's the point I'm trying to say.
True.
And being a long-serving public servant, let me be honest with you, anytime there was a change in government, public servants, they lay back a bit to see, is it going to be business as usual?
Oh, yeah. Or some kick is coming in.
So the leadership is very important. Where the president looks like accommodating or tolerating abuses of public office or corruption, it doesn't augur well. The optics are not good for fighting corruption. And I found it very unpleasant and disturbing when an office which was set up specifically to fight corruption and corruption related was even crying foul.
The OSP.
The OSP, the former OSP, cried foul and left. The current one is also crying. So I think the tone from the top, it should just be as simple as His Excellency Mahama telling his appointees that when OSP invite you, don't come to me, don't call me. Go and answer for it.
That's what he said.
No, I'm saying I'm expecting
should tell them.
him, yes.
Okay, all right.
That when OSP calls you, it is between you and OSP. If you think you have a case, you battle it till you finish. But I am not going to come in to give you any comfort. Remember Cecilia Dapa, what did the president say? He said, you and I will know that at the end of this investigation, your integrity will be restored.
I mean, in the letter.
Yes.
That he was hopeful.
Yes, he was hopeful. Why do you do that? Even before the investigation starts, you know what the end will be. And it's not the prophecy which has come true? So, mind you, in the public sector, all the institutions owe a bit of allegiance or look up to the president. Yeah. So if a president says, no, this thing will not go anywhere, and we know how in Ghana, it's not everybody who is like me. People like to protect their jobs. So they look at it and say, this thing, if I go there, the president may hit me. I don't care. I have consistently said my life does not end with my office, and definitely I've lived beyond leaving the office. Is that not it?
Yes.
My lives go on. So there are people who fear for their positions. And for that matter, I think the leadership is very important. If the president can make it clear that there are going to be consequences for even his appointees, once you cross the line, I'll hit you. These are the rules. Obey it. I think it would be fantastic.
How does President Mahama exhibit that? You said he should make it clear that nobody will be saved or protected.
Yes.
And he will not be a clearing agent.
Yes. First and foremost, he can make a public statement that I am not going to protect anybody because I promised Ghanaians that I'm going to fight corruption. Do you remember that he promised us?
Yes.
So I'm not going to be the one who is going to protect you. If in fact, they even talked about audit findings. If there's any audit finding and maybe you are not able to respond to the issues, I will use that finding to take my job away from you. Because you must not be the one who is misusing public funds and not being able to account for it. I'm not going to tolerate that. If I were he, I would have just watched my appointees after 1 month and call all of them. How many of you have declared your assets and your liabilities to the Auditor General? Those who have declared this way, those who have not declared this way. When I finish it, those who have not declared, you are all going home. Because you have violated the Constitution.
Oh, he should sack them.
Yes, sack them. That is what I've always said, that if the Constitution says, you must declare your asset before being in office. And you are in your office without declaring assets. Are you not occupying the office unconstitutionally?
But in fairness, when this matter went before Sraj, in the previous government's time, Sraj basically said that they should go and declare. I
disagree 100%, in fact, even 300% with Sraj. Because it's Sraj saying that if President Mahama on the 7th of January just woke up and say, I'm not the president, went to office and started working, would they have agreed?
No, of
without
course.
swearing in.
There's a process.
The Constitution says you should be sworn
taken,
in by the Chief Justice. Is that not it? Before Parliament.
True.
And that was done before he became president. Now the same Constitution says declare before you occupy office. And that one Shraj say, we don't know what to do. Go and sin no more.
But they say there was a lacuna.
What is the lacuna?
The punishment regime was not fleshed out, and that they could not impose upon themselves the powers to punish when indeed they didn't have the powers to do so.
Since when did this constitution was promulgated? Is it not 1992 and became effective 1993?
Yeah.
And from all that time up to today, they don't find it necessary to fix that lacuna?
But you know that in that PNDC law, it was quite clear that...
Not the PNDC law, the constitution I'm talking about.
No, I'm saying that the PNDC...
The previous one,
yes, on the declaration of assets.
Yes.
It was quite clear, the punishment regime.
Yes.
But when you people transitioned into a democratic regime, you took out this particular punishment.
At least the 550 should have even saved some of the provisions there. It didn't.
It didn't do so.
And I'm saying that, yes, let's take that as an omission, okay? How many years now? About 32 years. And we are still here crying the same.
But with respect, the people who fix it are the beneficiaries of that system.
Thank you. Now you are
it's
back
not
to
left
the
to me, or maybe.
Maybe the Shrag themselves, they may also fall into the same trap. So they look at it and say, hey, if we say these guys should do this, or we are so strict that it's unconstitutional, so we are recommending your removal from office. What about in case we also don't forget? Remember, they are supposed to declare every 4 years.
Yes.
And they also forget to declare. Somebody may say we should also leave office. So many times, the problem we have in the country is that the person who is supposed to protect the public interest is the abuser. So to make laws which will make sense, for instance, why would we say we are declaring assets and the declaration means just on paper and given to the Auditor General without verification, without publication, without penalty, even if you don't comply?
It beats my imagination.
Thank you.
But we still have not fixed it.
Yes, because it is not in the interest of the people who should fix it. So it is for you and I to be on their neck and ask them.
Do you expect President Mahama to fix that problem?
Exactly. I think if he's serious about fighting corruption, then he should fix this. Not only fix this, he should also fix the internal audit law. Mind you, it is also in their manifesto. Okay. The internal auditors are very important in this equation because they are on the front. They are like physicians. Unlike, what do you call it, the external auditors who behave like, they come in after. Yeah. So making them independent and making them effective and efficient in the discharge of their duties, I think will help us a lot. So that must be fixed. There are a few things that I think will be done, including what I talked about. But in all fairness,
it is believed that these internal auditors are client accomplices. They are basically part of the same work culture in various institutions, and they end up endorsing whichever corrupt act or whichever illegality. Sometimes they just only flag it slightly.
So will you expect that we don't have them at all? Or we have them and there are few who are misbehaving? Mind you.
Oh, but in all fairness, they are there, but sometimes external auditors come.
No, they cannot be effective. Let me be honest with you. When I was Auditor General, I got a lot of my intel from the internal auditors.
Oh, I see.
In fact, and I was encouraging them. I don't know if you heard me. I encouraged them that when you draft your report and you receive the bashing, they say, why can you write this? Don't write this. Go and edit it, else we will transfer you to Bolga or you go to her and you don't want to go to her. So they will normally say, this is a first draft. Okay. So the final draft will exclude all the key things. And I say, send me that zero draft.
Okay.
And many of them, they will tell me that this is my original report, which I cannot officially give to you.
Submit. Okay.
So all that I do is I pick the issues there and send a team to go and verify. And we pick it up in our audit. So a lot of them are patriotic. Let me be honest with you. It's true that a few of them may not be good as we expect. But then also, why they are not very effective is the fact that their independence is compromised. Because the one who will fix your salary, the one who will work on your promotion, the one who will transfer you is the very person you are reporting. Who in his normal sense in Ghana, is only idiots like me, who will say that, damn it, I'll remain in my position and still report you. Very few people will do that. That's why we are saying that if they pass a law to put all of them under the Director General of the Internal Audit Agency, then they are not at the mercy of these spending institutions anymore. They will become as bold as the external auditors, but they are on the field. And that, I think, will help us. And of course, again, some of their behaviors border also on professionalism. And this central institution can train them, equip them, and some of the skills that they don't have, like if they are supposed to do forensic audits, if they want to do some specialized type of audits, these skills can all be acquired centrally and deployed through government, and it will save us a lot of money.
Now, I mean, we have been talking about the structures of audits. We have been having conversation about institutional reforms. There are a lot of things the NDC listed.
Yes.
Some of them, I'm not so sure how they'll be able to deliver on them within the space that they have given. There's a lot of reform that's been proposed.
Yes.
Beyond institutional retooling and the changes in the laws that you are proposing, what else is required to build a reduced corruption state, a state that's serious about the fight against corruption, a state that has not stifled institutions that fight corruption, and also a state that people are afraid to engage themselves in corruption?
I think one of the things that I saw here, and I would like to read to you, which is of interest to me.
Okay.
They said they will support the Auditor General to enforce the surcharge powers of his or her office to retrieve embezzled funds with interest. That is surcharge. Okay? It is a very, in fact, that is one of the key tools that we have in our Constitution to fight corruption. Even, I was joking with one of my colleagues who is a judge and said, look, you as a judge, there is no way you can go out, identify an offense, question the person, more or less like investigating, and then disagree with the person and find the person on their spot. You can't do that. But the Auditor General does that. The Auditor General goes around, he finds wrongdoing, question you. If he's not satisfied with your answers, the Constitution says once the expenditure is contrary to law, he may disallow and surcharge. So he does that, and it is for you, the aggrieved person, rather to go to court if you are not happy. If this tool of disallowance and surcharge is used judiciously, I think it will help this country. And I don't really get what the problem is, that we are no more getting the disallowances and surcharges that used to happen.
There.
Yes.
We're doing it.
Yes. Just a minute. I remember that under Occupy Ghana versus Attorney General, the Judiciary or the Supreme Court gave consequential orders and said that any time you come across an item of expenditure contrary to law, the use of the word may in the Constitution changes to shall. It becomes mandatory. In fact, they explained that the Constitution used may because if they use shall, it means every audit should result in a surcharge or disallowance, which is not proper. But then if you occasion any illegal payment, then there's no more may. It becomes mandatory may. You must share surcharge. And these are not happening. But if you look at the audit reports that have been coming out, there's a lot of expenditures. The Auditor General said this is contrary to law. The people rather recoup it. They should rather recoup it. But the Supreme Court didn't say that to the Auditor General. I was then the Auditor General. What I heard the Supreme Court saying to me, if you read the judgment, is that even though Article 17 of the Audit Service Act requires the heads of department to recover the money, they say that the provision in the Constitution is on a higher pedestal compared to the Audit Service Act and must have its right of way. So they said Auditor General has the duty himself. That's why after giving the judgments against the Auditor General, in fact, all the pleas that they made went against the Auditor General, they gave consequential orders. So if these consequential orders are not being obeyed, and recently I heard the Supreme Court sending warning to the Speaker of Parliament that if we interpret a constitutional provision and you don't obey it, this is a high crime. But all these years, this high crime has been going on. I don't see what is happening.
No, I get your point. So if these orders were given, that you should indeed surcharge and disallow.
Yes.
And yet the Auditor General
fails to
post your time.
Yes.
Fails to do that.
Yes. Then according to Clause 2 of the Constitution, Article 2 of the Constitution, you have committed high crime.
But nobody has even hinted that the current Auditor General will be, maybe, even being considered to be charged with the high crime.
I don't know whether he is aware that he is committing high crime in the first place, because he's disobeying the decision of the Supreme Court.
Your office doesn't have lawyers who advise the Auditor General?
They do, but they take instructions from the Auditor General.
Yes, so it will be quite...
But what happens if they advise the Auditor General and the Auditor General say, I'm not going to do it?
No, I'm just saying that there must be something fundamentally wrong somewhere.
Yes, I know. I know what is fundamentally wrong.
What is wrong?
Because I did it and I suffered the consequences, so he's afraid.
Okay, that's your point.
The accounts have a proverb that the tree that is fruit, Anansi has eaten and died. And Tikuma doesn't go and sleep under that tree.
But that's not his mandate to determine.
No.
His job is to make sure that is done.
It's done.
And it's not only in law, it's been endorsed by the highest court of the land.
Yes, and they didn't only rule. They gave consequential orders, 4 of them. The 3 of them went to the Auditor General, and the 4th one went to the Attorney General. That when Auditor General does this, take the necessary steps to enforce. And here we are.
There is a new Attorney General who's been vetted. Are you expecting him to remind the Auditor General?
Very much. In fact, I will be disappointed if he doesn't remind the Auditor General that this is what we must do. Because he is a member of the NDC. And they promised that they are going to fight corruption. And he said they are going to help retrieve money using disallowance and surcharge. So I think the first thing he should do after his approval is to call a meeting with the Auditor General and say, do you have any challenges? I'm ready to help you.
But would it also help if the executive leader of the country said, I am not in any way going to stifle the performance of your duties. So go ahead and do whatever you want to do.
Yes. It is very helpful. I told you the tone from the top is always the best. The president said no. In fact, the president may even have to use the opportunity when swearing him in to remind him that remember that we have so much money we have to collect. A lot of public funds which have been abused or taken through corruption or illegally. And we promised that we are going to help Auditor General to do disallowance and surcharge. So one of your duties is that go and recoup those monies. Whatever need or support the Auditor General requires, give him so that we can go. If the Auditor General needs more lawyers, maybe the lawyers there are not enough because I'm told some have retired or resigned or whatever it is. Give him more lawyers so that you can go to court and prosecute this agenda. Now,
would it still be important if we do the disallowance and surcharge to continue with the NDC's proposal of the introduction of special courts to handle cases with adverse findings from the Auditor General?
I, on one of the platforms, answered yes and no. Yes, because, corruption is a very disturbing phenomenon, and it will be good we have courts that are dedicated to corruption issues so that they can be handled with speed. But are you aware that as far back as 2018 or thereabout, I wrote to the Chief Justice to say that we are doing disallowance and surcharge. And the Constitution under Clause 8 of Article 187 mandate whoever, Clause 9 of Article 187 mandates that anybody who is aggrieved can appeal at the High Court. If the appeals go to all the high courts in Ghana, we will be in trouble.
You don't have enough?
We don't have,
enough representation.
I think we have only 3 lawyers, and we don't know how they are going to be. So if you can choose specific courts. So the Chief Justice then appointed 4 courts in the country. 1 in Accra, 1 in Takoradi, 1 in Kumasi, and 1 in Tamale for all those appeals. So it helps. But at the end of the day, those courts were behaving like the ordinary courts. So I'm trying to say that if the attitudinal change in the court or the judiciary does not turn positive, it will be difficult. You may create special courts, but they will behave. It's just like putting an old wine in a new wine skin. So it will be the same thing. What I think is that we don't need this reform only for corruption and corruption-related cases. We need the entire judiciary to be fit for purpose. And on that note, I want to draw your attention to something I observed during the swearing in of His Excellency John Mahama. I saw that when the judiciary were leaving the place, they were in the STC bus, and people were hooting at them. And I was like, my goodness. Yes, I have the clip. I've saved it because I know they may challenge me one day. So I show it to them. Now look at people
I had no idea.
People hooting at you, which to me was very sad. So we need to clean the judiciary.
But as a whole, we have all read the report of the Afrobarometer.
Yes.
That trust in the judiciary, in
It's
our
very low.
courts,
It's all time
just
low.
like trust in the Electoral Commission, just like trust in the police, is at an all-time low.
Yes. So that is a wake-up call for the leadership of the judiciary. I think the Chief Justice and the Council to come together and say, what do we do? Said that people have, because mind you, if the trust in the court system or the judiciary system is low, it means that people will now have to find their own justice systems, which is not good for any country.
But is it real or perceived?
It
Because
may-
sometimes that's the extinction helps.
Yes, it may be taken as perceived. Some of us think it is real. In my personal
What
case,
would be the basis for such a claim?
Let me give
Yeah.
you. In my own personal case, where I didn't go to court though, but the civil society went to court and said, President, you're asking the Auditor General to go on leave is unconstitutional. The Supreme Court sat on it until I went on retirement before they give me a Pyrrhic victory, a victory which is useless. And when I read the judgment, I now understood it. I said, these guys, it was not judgment in my favor. It was in their own favor because they stated in the judgment that if they agree with the president, it means that one day in the course of election, the electoral commissioner can be told, go on leave, and the judges who are deciding the case can also be told, go on leave. So to protect themselves, the Auditor General is being
Perhaps
protected.
to protect all independent bodies.
Yes. But then why could this not happen? Mind you, the speed at which Afenyo Markins was able to get the judiciary to decide in the parliament case, this was also interpretation of a clause. And it took 3 good years.
Except that scheduling of cases is not the responsibility of the plaintiffs in the matter or anybody related to it.
But
It's
I'm
always
saying,
the court.
all I'm saying is that it's not a perception. We have cases to justify this. This is not the only one. Several, if you ask people, they will give you cases where they've gone to court and what happened. Even me, in the case of Crow and Associates, in the case of, Zoom Lion, who I say charge, I still believe that justice was not done. Because when we went to Supreme Court, Justice Efia was referring to Supreme Court to tell us whether, for national security reasons, the evidence of work done by Crow and Associates can be taken or not denied the Auditor General seeing it. And they decided that no, they will not do the interpretation. They rather said, okay, Senior Minister, go and give the information to the Auditor General. Auditor General, come back to us in 10 days' time, whether you are satisfied or not. 5 days into the 10 days, the President said, I should sit aside, I'll stand aside. I stood aside, I should go on leave. I went on leave. Within 24 hours, the current Auditor General cleared it.
Your replacement actually was satisfied?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's an independent view on the matter.
Yes.
He reviewed it independently and he was satisfied. You might not have been satisfied.
And this is the person now, the Supreme Court now ruled that his appointment is unconstitutional. So you took the poison fruit. Do you get me?
I get your point.
They then later on came to say that since there was a substantive Auditor General, he couldn't have been appointed an acting Auditor General. Now, that person who could not be is the one who you use in determining the case. I'm not talking about whether his views were right or not. I'm saying that that was not the issue referred to the Supreme Court. They were supposed to determine whether national security issues are exempted from audit or not. And they said, no, go and rather look at the evidence. Then when it comes to Zoom Lion, I would like to talk about that also. Zoom Lion went to the High Court. Zoom Lion lost. The judge ruled in favor of me. They said the Auditor General is right. Then they challenged the original jurisdiction of the Auditor General at the Court of Appeal and said there was supposed to be interpretation. So the Court of Appeal sent it to the Supreme Court. Now the Supreme Court, who in Occupy Ghana versus Attorney General, ruled that the Auditor General can hold anybody whose misbehavior or conduct occasions a loss to the state. Yeah. And they said, person, they put into bracket, being a public servant or not, which implies that it can be anybody. Now said that the High Court did not rule or did not find Zoom Lion being fraudulent or having behaved, and for that matter, it is okay. In a situation where we say that the man has claimed payment for the same service twice, here is evidence. The document he used in claiming that payment from the district is the same document he used in claiming the payment from National Health Insurance. And the Supreme Court said that they didn't establish any guilt.
Are these not isolated cases that do not in itself, in a composite manner, constitute enough reason for us to really look at the judiciary?
You may call it isolated, but it is one too many. to the extent that people have now formed that opinion or that concept, or what do you call it? You say perception.
Yeah.
People, they have now perceived. So if it has reached a point where people perceive you to be corrupt, then it's a problem.
But, Mr. Domlebo,
Yeah.
if you lose a case in court and you don't like the outcome of that particular case,
Yes.
it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem with the judiciary.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Nobody is saying that. That's why I did not just say that I lost three cases. Excuse me, I didn't say I lost 3 cases. I am trying to say that there are instances where the way they came, who preaches this principle or concept of justice delayed is justice denied than the courts? Who should know this better? So if you delay till the person has no benefit in your decision, is that not justice delayed and denied?
My time is almost up. I would like to take final words from you. Do you know that we've not covered half of the anti-corruption proposals the NDC is supposed to be implementing?
Because you went into ORA.
No, they are connected. In fact, ORA is part of the...
I know, it's just one.
Yes.
But you spend...
It's a key point that's already being implemented. So we should do this conversation again. We should come and be able to have you analyze and tell us the realistic ones, or where we can start and the low-hanging fruit we can use to achieve the kind of anti-corruption state that we want. I want to take final words from you before we wrap up.
Yeah, thank you very much for that opportunity. I would like to say that I heard or I listened to Honorable Bua in Parliament where he told the former president that he has at least taught Ghanaians how not to govern. I wish to say that on the back of that, Mahama should show us how to govern.
Okay.
We have an opportunity to show to the world that, or to Ghanaians, that we can do better than what it is, so that public office must be used for the interest of the public. And we must ensure that corruption is reduced to the barest minimum.
Folks, that's where we end today's edition of UPfront. My guest has been Daniel Domlebo.